I'm live. I'm streaming live on Instagram and I'm streaming live on YouTube. Hi, welcome to everyone. It's Thursday Tea Time Live, and we've got lots to get through today. Lots more history stuff, history in the news. Welcome, Joanne, Jenna, I can see joining. Romance Victorians, hi, Will Pride. I have got a bit of a cold. So my tea today is in fact a blackcurrant lemon sip. So excuse my heavy breathing, and well, potentially we'll get a bit of a sexy rasp going on. But if that doesn't happen, then hopefully we don't get blowing noses. Let me just make sure all of my things are on. Yes, cool. So thank you for joining me live, everyone. Thank you for joining on the catch up, and thank you also if you're listening on the podcast. Hi, Ipsa 1959. Good afternoon. Yes, I missed last night's History After Dark. Yeah, I will. I'll explain a bit more. It's not very interesting. It basically entailed me, my nose, and a full box of tissues last night. I honestly, I don't think I could have spoken to you for about 5 minutes without being interrupted by a sneeze or the requirement to blow my nose. So hopefully today we will do a lot better. I'm just a bit breathy. So we're going to talk today history in the news. Got some history anniversaries to talk about. I'll tell you when I'm about the next few lives that we've got coming on. We've got the winner of Tracy's book, which I'm going to announce later. And of course, we have the Just for Fun question, which I set you last week. I'll give you the answer to that one. And then we will, I will set you a new one as well. So let's get going. How are you all anyway? Hi, Janice down in East Sussex. I'm a Crane Shakab. Good afternoon. Lisa, I am on YouTube. I should be on YouTube. Yes. Tell me if it's not working. That would be useful. Jenna, suffer from environmental allergies. Spring is torture. Yes, I thought there were allergies. Anyway, I won't go into it, but I seem a bit more prone at certain times of the year, and I used to be like not prone at all. So I need to get a grip of it. It's highly annoying, and being self-employed, not useful whatsoever, and especially as someone who talks and gets on camera for a lot of the week. Yes, right. So I am also streaming on YouTube. I hope that it is coming through okay. If you are watching on YouTube, if you could put me a comment in the comment box, that would be really useful. If you're watching on Instagram, send me some hearts. I can see some hearts coming up. Thank you very much. And comment and say hi as well if you haven't already, because I really like to see you all. And I know a lot of you, we're spread out now, aren't we? We're so spread out, and I love that. We've got usually got India and Rio. Lisa, hi. Good. I'm glad I'm on. Do you watch for you're like double screening me? Yeah, we've got people from Rio and Australia and obviously America and England and all over. So if you're in somewhere different to that as well, let me know, because I'm really interested. So before I begin, again, thank you for joining me live. Thank you for joining on the catch up, and a big thank you to all of you who support me through other ways. You buy me a coffee. Thank you, especially this week to Leah and Ian Armstrong, who bought me a coffee. Thank you so much. All my patrons. I'll talk to you about what is live in Patreon today. So something's gone live in there today. The YouTube members as well. Thank you so much. And also anyone who buys any of my merch or any of the books from Amazon as well that I recommend, because that all helps me as well. Now, this week, I started off the week with another one of my hobbies. So history, obviously, is a massive passion of mine. Music is the other one. Romance Victorians out there in the Philippines. Fantastic. Hi. Music is my other passion. In fact, I'm interested to know, actually, because history isn't, if it's your hobby, is it your only hobby? Does it totally take over your life, or what else are you into? So mine is music, and I started off this week, Sunday night, seeing Elkie Brooks. Do any of you know Elkie Brooks? should know, Elkie Brooks live in Birmingham. So, I mean, it was incredible for a few reasons. One, she is the first person I saw in concert when I was about 10 years old. And she was on at Wolverhampton Civic, and she was my next door neighbour, and she was one of my bestest friends, and she died about 20 years ago. But she was going with a friend. The friend was ill, so she asked me if I would go, and I went. So Elkie Brooks was the first person I ever saw live, other than my dad, who had his own band. So I'd seen live music before, but Elkie Brooks was the first one. So seeing her again on Sunday, 30 years later, was quite incredible. Second, it's, a big Romance Victorians, member of a choir and an organist. Well, maybe does history and music go together? People tell me. Just being out and at an event as well was just, obviously, after the last 2 years, was incredibly emotional as well. So, yes, Janice, Elkie's voice is still absolutely there. She's 77 years old. She was 77 last Friday, and I saw her Sunday. And many people lose their voices as they get older, not to any fault, just, it just happens. I don't know that you can do a lot, but she hasn't at all. Her voice is incredible. It's so good. And of course, she did Pearl's a Singer, which she did Nights in White Satin, Purple Rain. Honestly, if you've never listened to Elkie Brooks, grab her on Spotify and have a look. Jenna, absolutely. Music and history definitely go hand in hand. I think so. Seems that way, doesn't it? I'm just going to have a sip of my Lemsip. So that was a brilliant start to the week. When you go to Birmingham Town Hall as well, this is something I want to mention. So it looks like a Roman pantheon. It's obviously that was the inspiration for the architecture, but inside they have lots of information panels, I suppose you'd call them, with information about the history of the town hall. And one of the things that really caught my eye was they used to have 24-hour jazz festivals. Probably, I actually can't remember whether it was interwar or pre-First World War. Yeah, I'd have to look it up. But what I found interesting was the town hall one that they had those, I thought were fantastic. There was images of people who were sleeping during the 24 hours. So they'd have this 24-hour jazz festival. They'd have this 24-hour jazz festival in the hall, and people would be drinking, dancing, and then having a snooze and then starting again, which I thought was fantastic. But we're in the middle of an area that, as far as I'm aware, has never been residential, and yet, guess what happened? People tried to shut it down. Oh no, we don't want you having 24-hour jazz festivals. This must be some evil behind all of this, and it just occurred. Another example of, there's always this sort of push when when a group of people do something that another group want to stop them for whatever reason. It almost seems like a natural human thing. Janice, yes, my dad was a musician. And in fact, my dad is 80 and he only stopped singing. Actually, he was about 3 years ago. So he'd have been about 70, 76, 77. Yep, a rock and roll band. All I can ever remember him doing, really. Okay, Katie knows Wolverhampton Civic. Spent many a drunk night there. Well, I was only 10 when I went. 10 when I went to see Elkie Brooks. I did go and see someone else there. Oh my God, I can't remember who it was. But yeah, I want to go and see more live music. Like I say, I grew up with it. So I was kind of spoiled, really, in that I just assumed it's always going to be around in my life, And then I had children, and you don't go out when they're little, or it's much harder to go out when they're little. And by the time they've got older, I've kind of got out the habit. But live music is, well, and no, actually, pre-pandemic, I decided I'm going to get out and see some more music. Sorry, everyone. It must have been me. But yeah, so then, so now it is I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission for music. Orlando, welcome. Hi, I can see you joining from Rio. Glitterberg, welcome. 54, 57, welcome. So anyway, so yeah, Birmingham Town Hall. So I had a little history lesson while I was there enjoying Elkie Brooks live. She's touring as well. How fantastic. She's 77. She's touring. Honestly, brilliant. Look her up on Spotify if you don't know who we're talking about. You will find a treat. So that was very cool. That was very, very cool. So let's talk about Elements of Bray. Hi, welcome. How you doing? How you doing? Joanne. Lucky enough to land 2 tickets to Sir Paul in Boston. Excellent. These I love live music so much. Do you know, I'm a big Eagles fan, and when Glenn Fry died, I actually couldn't listen to the Eagles for a full 12 months. I'm not even exaggerating. How weird is that? Now, for those of you watching on YouTube, I have a little treat. For those of you on Instagram, don't worry, it won't take away your experience either. But I'm messing with a streaming service called StreamYard on YouTube, which allows me to share my screen. Now, Joanne, also a fellow Eagles fan. So I'm going to share my screen to talk about 2 stories in the news that have come up in the looking for a wife. Oh, right, okay. Not here, I'm afraid. 2 stories that have come up in the news recently, and I'm going to share my screen on YouTube. On Instagram, don't worry, I will talk you through it as I would normally. Let's see if this even works anyway. Right, let's give it a go. Oh, okay. So the first one is out today, and it is I think it was out today, although I've known about it for a little while, and it's this there's a portrait at Hever Castle. So if you haven't seen this, obviously those of you on YouTube can see this. On Instagram, have a little look later. It's an image of Catherine. Well, it's been labelled as Catherine Parr. It was thought to have been painted in 1530. And then experts from the National, I don't know if it's the National Gallery or the National Portrait Gallery, had a better look, had a bit of an analysis, and realised it was actually painted a full decade earlier. And therefore, it wasn't Catherine Parr. She'd have been way too young as the sitter in this particular portrait. It was, in fact, Katherine of Aragon. So it's a portrait of Henry's first wife, not his 6th wife. And this portrait, so my good friend Dr. Owen Emerson is in this article in the Telegraph talking about it, and has put it down to the fact that because Henry had a type, he had a type which he went off pieced with. I'm so sorry, people who are being proposed to in the comments on Instagram. Just ignore. I don't know. I'll ban him later. So you've got this portrait of Catherine Parr being mixed up with Catherine of Aragon, because he had this type. So in other words, the portraits of the wives can be mixed up because they have similarities. They have light or red hair, blue eyes, except for Anne Boleyn, because he went a bit off there. His normal Kristen, sorry. Nope. Yes. So anyway, so there's this new. So the portrait has been relabeled Catherine of Aragon at 1520, and that is it's on display at Hever, and they've had a shift round because they've got an exhibition called Becoming Anne: Connections, Culture and Court, and that's on at Hever from I think it's tomorrow. Yes, the 4th of March. Uh, it's on from the 4th of March to November, which is very, very good news for my tour groups, because I've got 3 tours going this year. One, we're staying at Hever for the entire time. That is the Anne Boleyn tour in May. And we're back for the Life and Times of Elizabeth I in July, and then back again in September for On Progress with Anne Boleyn. So all 3 of my tour groups are going to be able to be there while this exhibition is on. So that's very, very exciting. So anyway, so that's one of the stories. The other story that I wanted to talk about, let me see if I can get this up, everybody, is the mosaic that's been found in London. Have you seen this? It is incredible. So there's always construction work going on in London, as any of you who've visited will know. And the so before you can do any building work or whatever, you have, I think that's anywhere in the country now, you have to have an archaeological survey. So it's not unusual for this to happen. Now in London, there's actually, what are they called? The MOLA is their shortened version, the Museum of London Archaeology, and they do a lot of this work, and they've discovered this incredible mosaic, floor mosaic that I don't know, it must be one of the largest. I don't actually know whether they've said it's one of the largest. It's one of the largest that I've seen come up in the news. I mean, one of the archaeologists working on it has described it as the find of a lifetime. And if you see it, the colours, because it's been buried, obviously, the colours are really quite vivid. You've got reds and blues, and obviously the creams or whites of the mosaic tiles. The motifs are lovely. You've got flowers, you've got just patterns. They probably mean something, I'm sorry. I don't know. But really incredible. I think it might have been a dining room in London. It's actually in Southwark. So it's not the city of London. It's just south of the river to the city of London. Which is interesting in itself. So, it looks like a nice posh villa, perhaps. Lisa says, so well preserved, mudslides covering history. Yeah, well, what I find incredible is how much earth is above everything. Like, is the earth expanding? Philippa and her stupid questions. But we dig down to everything. Anyway, so, but that was the other news story that I saw that I thought was amazing. I mean, I love Roman history. Any of you who've been watching for a while will know that I do love the Roman history. And it's 2,000 years ago, and you can see still not just ruins, but the impact our road system. Many of our roads, well, a lot of our roads still have the same route of the Roman roads, from the major routes down to minor routes. So the Roman impact, the Roman impact of the Roman occupation here in Britain is, or England especially, is England or Wales especially, is huge. So welcome, Bobby Ann. Hi, Philip. Hi, se.omer 1591. Hope you're all well today. So right, I will stop sharing my screen on Instagram now. But so on Instagram, no, your Instagram, your YouTube on YouTube. Lisa, what did the Romans ever do for us? Lol. Do you know, I've got that book. There's a book called was it Adam Hart Davis? You did this series, and there was books to go with it called "What Did the Whatevers Do for Us?" I think there was a Roman one. There was definitely a Victorian one. What did the Victorians do for us? And he went through kind of what they did and what we're left with. It's good couple of books. I've not seen him for years. Hi, Ali. How are you? Yeah, I've not seen him for years. I wonder if he's still about, but his books are really fun. Right, so that was history in the news. And then we've got a couple of history anniversaries that I was going to talk about today, which I've got videos as usual, which correspond to on my YouTube channel. The first one, hi Bobby. The first one, any of you live in Pennsylvania? Any of you who are joining from America? Because it's the anniversary tomorrow, so the 4th of March, in 1681, where William Penn. Hiya, Dave. How you doing? Hope you're well. Jenna says, I've seen an episode about what the Tudors did for us. Oh, yeah. I think he did. He must have gone through the different eras. Yeah. Find that episode again, Jenna. Bobby, born and raised in Pennsylvania, right? So you may well know way more about this than I do, but let me tell you a bit. So, 4th of March, 1681, William Penn was granted a charter of lands in what would become Pennsylvania. 28 million acres of land. 1681 is the reign of Charles II. So he grants William Penn this land. William Penn, by the way, at this point is only 36 years old. 36 years old, and he becomes one of the biggest landowners, certainly in sort of the Western world, at that time. Now, his father was another William Penn. So William Penn Sr. was an admiral, and he had funded the. I couldn't find out whether it's like the whole fleet or just part of the fleet, but he'd funded. So he'd fed them. He'd funded the Admiralty basically, and so Charles II owed him a massive debt. He couldn't pay, and so he granted William Penn Jr. William Penn Sr. died by this point, the lands in America. Now, why would William Penn want this land? He was born and raised in Church of England, but he became more and more disillusioned with the way that the Church of England, the way it was run, how it was. He's not giving up, people. How it was run. And so he actually converted to Quakerism. So his vision was to set up a land where people could practice their religion in whatever way they wanted. Now, this is where I don't know. Did he manage it? Don't know. You maybe you know more than me, and you can tell me more about that. But it is. I think it's just interesting that that's the anniversary of that. Tomorrow is the granting of these lands to him. And the other thing to say is that do you know where? Obviously, it's a bit obvious where the Penn of Pennsylvania comes from. But do any of you know where this? In fact, Lisa, you might know this with your recent language achievements, where the Sylvania part comes from. Do any of you know that? I will tell you if you don't. But it's it was something I didn't know before I looked it up. I'm leaving you hanging now just to see if you know. Let me see. Oh, Lisa doesn't know. Anyone else? Mind you, what, you don't know the whole of the Latin language, Lisa? Well, it's basically from the Latin for. Ips has got it for woods. Yes. Yes, it's from the Latin for woods. Did any of you grow up playing with Sylvanian families? Or got kids who play Sylvanian families? They're all woodland creatures, aren't they? So, yeah. So there you go. So Penn's woods, I suppose. Penn's woodlands, Penn's, don't know. But yeah, Pennsylvania. The other anniversary, Dave, you're just going to say that. I know you're well up on your Latin. Jenna, yep, makes sense. Katie, yep, she knew it as well. Lots of mountains here. I grew up in the mountains. I didn't. I grew up in flat, boggy. It's really boggy here at the moment, England, but I do love it. It is home. So, and the other anniversary I was going to talk. Oh, Dave, not the Latin, the toys. Okay, I get you. They're brilliant. When my daughter then became old enough to play with, because they're really tiny, aren't they? It's like if you love miniature stuff, you love Sylvanian families. So you have to wait till the kids are a little bit older. They're not for toddlers. And then she wasn't really interested. So I just kept buying, but I kept buying stuff for Christmas and birthdays. And really it was for me. And now I've got too much. I don't know what to do. It's all in the loft now. Waiting to hope for the grandkids that would be interested in playing with them. So the other anniversary this week that I wanted to talk about, it's not till the 8th of March. But it's 1702, and it's Princess Anne becoming Queen Anne. So this is the second daughter of James II, the deposed James II, to come to the throne. So James II was deposed during the Glorious Revolution. So he had converted to Catholicism, which was already a sticking point, to say the least. But it all came to a head when his queen gave birth to a son, which initially people, including Anne, and she stuck by this story regardless of the fact that there was such little evidence for it, that it was clearly propaganda, was that the son was a changeling. The boy had been smuggled in a bedpan. The queen hadn't given birth to it. The baby that the queen had given birth to had been disposed of. So this has brought it to a head, and you have the Glorious Revolution in 1688, and James II flees to the continent. The English really government, because we're not Britain. We're not Britain until the 1707, I think it is. But the English government are kind of pulling the strings. They invite, and this is already the mechanism for this had already started. They invite the daughter of James II, Mary II, and her husband William of Orange. And this is William comes over first. He lands in Brixham. Anyway, blah 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 blah. Cut a long story short, you end up with William. A very long story short, you end up with William and Mary, joint monarchs on the throne. Now, Mary predeceases William, but there's no. Interestingly, William was also in the line of succession, but behind Anne, if he hadn't been married to Mary. But when Mary predeceases him, he stays as king. But he dies after a riding accident in Hampton Court, the environs of Hampton Court Palace. He's out riding, his horse stumbles, and he falls, and he dies of his injuries. So Anne becomes queen. Oh, chewing gum. Every Thursday, I always find out a lot of historical info that I never knew about coming into this stream. Thanks, Philippa. Thank you, chewing gums. Thank you so much. So we end up with Anne. Now, before I move on, I am going to give you another, if you're interested in this period, and if you're interested in the Tudors, I think rolling onto the Stuarts is it will interest you. But there's this book by Anne Somerset, which is a tome, and it goes through Anne's life from early on. So you see how the build up, that story that I was just telling you about, how James II converting to Catholicism becomes a problem, but how that builds. Anne's position in that, her take in that, on that, and then her actions. So James II seems genuinely hurt about his daughter's, I suppose, betrayal, and but Anne is no, we're absolutely doing the right thing. She's staunch Protestant, because when Anne is born and Mary are born, their uncle Charles II is still on the throne, and he will not allow his brother's children to be educated or to be brought up as Catholics. They have to be brought up as Protestants, and it works. They are. So anyway, so Anne's grown up as Protestant. She's in opposition to her father. Religion belief has come above blood, and anyway, so she becomes queen. But she's almost too famous for being the queen who had 17 pregnancies and no surviving children. I mean, she had a son, the Duke of Gloucester, who lived to 11 years old. Although the portraits of him seem to show him sort of not well as a younger boy, but still, he lives till he's 11 years old. Tragically as well, her first two children. So as she goes on, her pregnancies are very close together, and she is increasingly unwell, and the babies are either stillborn or die soon after birth. But actually, her first two children, she had two girls, were healthy. They died of smallpox. And the smallpox also affected her husband. But anyway, this had all happened by the time she becomes queen. Now, the bit about that story I was going to tell you about was none of that, actually. But anyway, I went off on one. The bit about that story I was going to mention was that at the time William, so Mary's predeceased William, at the time William dies, James II, as I mentioned, he had this son, also called James. They're on the continent. James II had died the year before William, but he had coached his son James in terms of who he should have on his council, who he should have as the head of his army, etc., etc. He had given his son advice for when he became James III of England and Scotland. And well, no, it wouldn't have been James III of Scotland, but James the eighth by that point. So James II has still a really strong belief that his line will end up back on the throne. And there's lots going on about, will Anne invite James back over? Will he just come and become king? But in the end, no. We have Anne as queen. We have then the Jacobite rebellions, which continue and become. You've got James has a son called Charlie, Bonnie Prince Charlie. Anyway, so that line actually lasts for another 2 generations, but never successfully takes the crown. Of course, when Anne dies, it goes to the Hanoverians, who are, I've asked the girls on History After Dark if we can do a room about the Hanoverians, and basically what a mess their relationships were. Because I was good. So I'll talk about History After Dark now, because last night I should have been on History After Dark. If any of you join us, I know a lot of you do. If any of you don't, our History After Dark room is boundary-free chat about history. So it's boundary-free in terms of topics. It's boundary-free in terms of the language we might use. So it's not for the faint-hearted. That's what we always say. Now it's hi, my journalist. Yes. Oh, thank you very much. I was missed last night. So last night, the girls were talking about bad romance. And this was a topic I was really looking forward to doing. So this is, in fact, I imagine on the stream, they used fruitier language than bad romance. Basically, where we've got absolute messes of relationships. Good morning, Colleen. How are you? So last night the History After Dark was about bad romance, and thank you, Lisa. I was missed. I have massive FOMO. I have to say, when I have to miss History After Dark, I have massive FOMO. But if you haven't joined us there yet, and you'd like to dip your toe into that particular water, then you can go and follow us on Instagram. We're history.after.dark, and we are live every Wednesday at 8:15 in the evening. But any of you who've just joined or have joined since the beginning, this isn't tea today, this is lemsip, because I am struggling. And last night there was nothing touching it. And I was, basically sneezing, blowing my nose, or you didn't want to see it. Honestly, you didn't want to see it. I didn't want to share it. So, yeah, not that I think you can catch it during, do you know what I mean? I didn't want to share my suffering. But yeah, so massive FOMO, hated missing it. But I'm sure the girls did a fantastic job. And right, the reason I was also going to mention that is because I'm going to ask the girls if we can do a Georgian room, because actually the 3 relationships I was going to talk about all turned out to be Hanoverian based. So we had, I was going to talk about George I and the incredible hypocrisy of him and cruelty. Prince Frederick, who bundled his wife into a carriage while she was in labour, just to make sure that she didn't give birth where his parents could basically have the right of the king and queen was to see the one of the heirs being born. So there was that one, and the other one I wanted to talk about was Henrietta Howard, who was a mistress of George II when he was Prince of Wales, and then subsequently King George. Oh, thank you, my journalist. I hope I feel better soon as well. Do you know, sometimes I'm very good at kicking these very fast, but it came on really strong yesterday. Lisa says hot water, lemon, honey, apple cider vinegar. Good for sore throats and colds. I've been gargling. The kids laugh at me because I've been gargling with salt water, which I know is very good to like keep it at bay. But they're like, Mom, because obviously I'm spitting, which isn't very ladylike. Chewing gums, let's be honest, Thursday luncheons aren't the same without these streams. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. It's very, very, very nice to be here. It's very lovely to have you here with me week in, week out as well. And welcome anyone who's new and joined recently. So this is our meander through history. We've done some history in the news. We've done Dave, vodka, Red Bull. Oh, God. I can't think of anything worse. Oh, I'm going to start sniffing. So sorry. Yes, Elements of Bray. Well, Tracy Borman gave a talk on Henrietta. Yeah, she did for, I don't know which one you saw. So I saw the Marble Hill one. Thank you, chewing gums. I'm sure I will feel better very soon. Yes, Elements of Bray. That's so that is where I got it from. Was watching Tracy Borman's talk about Henrietta, and then going off and doing a little bit of research as well. But anyway, so hopefully we'll have. I mean, the Georgians are they're ripe for a History After Dark room, aren't they? They are. The Hanoverians were a mess. Their relationships were a mess. Oh, Kristen's Red Bull and coffee. Woo! I'm going to be on the ceiling. Actually, I have had a lot of coffee this morning to try and get my energy levels up. Just kidding. Oh, no, I'm on it already. What's about my lemsip? Oh. Echinacea as well is another thing. My journalist does warm whiskey and honey. Works, but you do get a touch tipsy. Oh, because when you've got a cold, you're more susceptible to alcohol. Is that right? Oh, dear. Oh, Genesis, it definitely wasn't the same last night without me there. Yeah, I will kick it soon. I mean, I'm back today. To be honest, I wasn't sure whether I'd be able to do this today. If I would have been feeling like I was last night, this afternoon, I wouldn't have been able to do this. So I am, I'm taking, after this, I'm going to rest, everyone. Because tomorrow we have another live, and it's the Visiting Tudor Britain room. It's going to be myself and Deb Royal. Sarah is off on her travels. So it's usually Sarah, who's at the Tudor Travel Guide, myself, obviously, and Deb Royal, who is Tudor Times. And we get together every Friday at 4:00 on Instagram to do a live to talk about a place to do with the Tudors in Britain. And tomorrow we are, well, Deb's leading it. I'm going to host it. Deb's leading it. So you can see it on my channel at British_history_tours. And we're talking about Hardwick Hall and Bess of Hardwick. So Deb's going to be joining, Deb's going to be leading that chat tomorrow. So if you're around, if you're not, then you can catch up with it on it'll be on my Instagram. So you'll be able to catch up with that. Excuse me. So we've done some history in the news. We've done anniversaries. So we talked about the granting of the lands in which became Pennsylvania to William Penn, and we've talked about Anne becoming queen and the fact that the James line, the Catholic line, was still alive and well and wanted to come back. They were in exile on the continent. Now, do you know where the Jameses are all buried? Does anybody know? I shall tell you. Oh, it reminds me, we need to get on to my question in a minute, don't we? So the Jameses, imagine it's the two Catherines are unsupervised, so they went a bit more rowdy than usual. I do feel like I'm the calming force. Yeah. I'll be mother. Yeah. Oh dear. That's funny. So the Jameses are all buried in. Do you know? In fact, this is going to be linked to our. Oh, this is linked to our question as well. They're all buried in the Vatican. St. Peter's. There you go. Oh, did someone just answer? Oh no, Chewing Gum says, imagine if Instagram was around during the Tudors. Henry VIII would probably upload some of his pretty decent food pics. Can you imagine if Twitter was around in the Tudor period? Oh, propaganda machine, just ready and waiting. But Instagram, yeah. Henry's food, what I'm having for dinner. That'd be funny. Right, let's do. Oh, let me tell you, next week I'm going to be talking, because I already know, because this is how organised I've managed to be. Next week I'm going to talk about the Rizzio murder, because we've got that anniversary coming up, and Henry's jousting accident. This is the 1524 one, not the 36 one. 24 one. I'm talking about that next week as well. But for now, let's do just for fun question. So last week I asked, what did critics of Wren's my journalist, did you say buried in the Vatican? How? Why? Yes. Well, maybe I'll go into that story on another time as well. Yeah, because they're prominent Catholics. They're on the no, you didn't miss here. They are in the Vatican. Yeah. I'll go into that story another time because that's interesting as well. Hi, Anandita over there in India. How are you doing? You all right? Lisa says Henry be constantly looking at women's pics for future wives. Oh dear, can you imagine? Yeah, it's best that Instagram, it's best that social media and anything like it. Oh, scratch my was not around when Henry's around. You wouldn't want to be posting just in case you caught his eye. Excuse me, everybody. Right, anyway, the question. So what did I say? Oh, yes. What did critics not like about Wren's design for St. Paul's Cathedral, or Wren's St. Paul's Cathedral? And Dita, I am doing good, but I've been telling everyone who will listen that this is Lemsip today, not tea, because I'm poorly. Jenna, maybe because Westminster Abbey is part of the Church of England. Well, they didn't come back. Oh, I see what you mean. Joanna, yes. Joanne. Sorry, Jenna, if you're talking about the Jameses, yeah, well, they're in France, then they're in Rome. So they never get to come back. Joanne, yes, Joanne has got it. So the question, Janice also has it. Janice. I'm so sorry. However it comes out. My journalist says Henry be banned from Tinder. That Henry, bit like the Tinder swindler, is now but for him it would be banned for homicidal tendencies. Yeah, you can't go on Tinder if what you're looking for is someone. Let's not go there. Henry VIII on Tinder. Oh God. Oh, well, I wonder what his profile pic would be. It definitely wouldn't be what he actually looked like, would it? He would have filtered that. He would have photoshopped it. He'd be 20 years younger than he is. Oh God. Yeah. What a thing that would be. Anyway, sorry, back to the question. Yes, what did critics not like about St. Paul's, about Rennes St. Paul's Cathedral? And Joanne and maybe the guy. Joanne and Janice has got it. Sorry, that just made me laugh, Jenna. Maybe Henry could have helped that guy wanting a wife. Anyone who wasn't here earlier, there was a guy asking for a wife in the comments. Because apparently that's all you need to do. Just ask. Well, if you don't ask, you don't get. But I think maybe that's not the way to go about it. Chewing gum says Henry VIII's profile picture would just be a big roast chicken. To be fair, that could be my profile picture. I do love a roast chicken. It is my favourite meal. The answer to the question was yes, it was too popish. It looked like the Basilica in Rome. It looked like St. Peter's in Rome. And St. Paul's Cathedral was Church of England. So it was not supposed to have a dome like St. Paul's. So that is indeed what critics did not like about it. So there you go. Good morning, Rennie. How are you doing in Michigan? Hope you're well. So this week's question, and I'll tell you the answer next week. Now, this question is based on another video I've got. Surprise, surprise. This is going to be a running theme, people. It's about the real story about Rule Britannia. So Rule Britannia, I would normally obviously sing it for you, but my throat's not doing very well today. Jenna guessed it, thought it was the dome. Yeah, there is a story actually that, now I would need to verify this, but that the dome wasn't sanctioned at the time that the building work began. Now this was from a guide who showed me around years ago, that actually the dome had basically been told, no, you're not going to get to stick a dome on St. Paul's. It's not happening. But what the guide was telling me was the way it was built. So the building work had already begun. You couldn't have just added the dome on top. That the architecture required, the design required for having that dome, it needed groundwork, to enable that, and therefore Rennes was building it for the dome to be put on, even at the point where it wasn't sanctioned. That was the story he told me. Like I say, I haven't verified it. Hello, Ratif. Good evening from Pakistan. Hello, good evening. Chai or tea loving country. Perfect. Have you got your cup of tea? I have my lemsip today, only because I need some paracetamol in blackcurrant form. So anyway, so this week's question, like I say, based on the real story behind Rule Britannia. So Rule Britannia is the rousing song, caused lots of controversy in the last 2 years. It's played at the last night of the proms, and I think in 2020 it was played without the words, or they wanted to play it without the words. Jenna says, watch The Great Medici on Netflix. I really liked that. And you'll learn how they construct the dome. Yes. Sorry, everyone. I'm going to sniff. I'm really trying not to. Yes, the Rule Britannia. So I think it was performed without the words, or they wanted to perform it without the words. Now, so I did this video about the real story behind Rule Britannia, because I think it's interesting how it actually came about. The chewing gum says you can still try to sing Rule Britannia. Let's be honest, however ill you're feeling, it will be much better than at least 75% of singers these days. It's kind of a choir requirement though, isn't it? Rule Britannia. It's got to have it's rousing, and that's part of its story. It's Oh, heard it at the Royal Albert Hall last year, and it was amazing. I bet it is incredible when you hear it live. Like I say, I'm a massive fan of live music, and I need to get out and see more. And I don't care whether it's big concerts, pubs, whatever. I am loving my live music, and yeah, must get out and see more of it. But yeah, so the question is about it. But anyway, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So you can see my video about Rule Britannia, because it was actually it's the finale to a masque, or it was a musical, really. It was a performance, and it had been, this is back to the Georgians again. So this had been commissioned by Prince Frederick, and one of the ways in which what happened with Hanoverians is you got the King's Court, and then you got a court with the Prince of Wales, and this seemed to happen down the generations. They split from each other, and they ended up as rival factions. And one of the ways that they would pit themselves against each other was the arts, and investing in the arts and supporting the arts. And Frederick had this musical commission, and like I say, I'll go into this more in the video, but Rule Britannia was the finale to it, and the whole story was basically about King Alfred, but it was about his son being really the hero, you know. A very unsubtle story, but and Rule Britannia was the finale. Now, what the Georgians did do well, this is a time of Handel and other composers, is recognised the way the Tudors recognised the power of the visual. The Georgians recognised the power of music. Now, we all know, I've been talking about live music all the way through this. We all know that live music, it brings up emotions. It gives you instant feelings, doesn't it, of whatever. People, boxers, footballers, whoever, F1 drivers, love my F1 as well. You can see them listening to their playlists before they go boxing, go driving, whatever, to get them into a certain state of mind. So we know that music does this, and the Georgians knew it. Now, the Georgians are a German family coming over and sitting on the throne. So they had a job on their hands to be accepted, and one of the ways in which they did this was the music. Well, this is where we get God Save the King as well, is written at this time. So anyway, have a little look at that video. I'll explain a bit more about it in that. It's called The Real Story Behind Rule Britannia. And the question is based, just a fun question this week, is based on that. And it is, on what occasion was Rule Britannia first performed? So if you watch the video, you'll find out, and you can tell me next week. So on what occasion was Rule Britannia first performed? We've got a lovely chat going on in the Instagram comments about tea. Lots of different types of tea. Looks great. Oh. So there's the question for this week. So now I need to tell you. Oh, there's one. I'm going to tell you who has won the signed copy of Tracy's book. So this was the competition we had going to win The Private Lives of the Tudors, that Tracy has kindly signed. And the competition was based on the interview that I did with Tracy about female rule and power in England and subsequently Britain. And that closed on Monday. So before I get to telling you who has won that, there's a new reel that I've put out on Instagram and on YouTube Shorts. Although copyright did me. which is fine, doesn't matter. It's still there, you can still see it, about London Bridge. It's also on Pinterest as well. So I have started to populate my Pinterest. So yeah, about London Bridge, and there's a wonderful painting in the Museum of London. Now, I haven't been to the Museum of London since it's been on its new site, but I'm presuming it's still going to be on display. And it was painted before the Great Fire, so it's sometime in the mid 17th century, and it shows London before the city of London before the Great Fire of 1666, but it's got the bridge. So I've put that on, but also when I was doing a research visit on the Great Fire of London, I was looking for the grave of Thomas Fariner, the baker within whose bakery the Great Fire began. And he's supposed to be buried in a church called St Magnus the Martyr, which is at the bottom of what is now Pudding Lane. Anyway, I didn't find his grave. Neither did the people who were there know anything about it. However, when I was there, I saw this incredible model that I'm afraid now it's a few years ago, so I didn't take the name of the person who's created it, but the model is in St Magnus the Martyr of London Bridge. So the old London Bridge with the gate, with the heads on pikes, to warn anyone coming from the riverside, so the Southwark side, warning them what lay ahead if they didn't follow the rules. So all of that is on there. So if you're on Instagram, check out that reel after we've finished here today. On YouTube, you can see that as on my channel as well. It's on as a short. So yeah, check that out. I'm quite pleased with that one. Also, if you're a patron, I have just released this month's blog, and I'm talking about the Prince of Wales. How come it is that the English heir to the throne has the title Prince of Wales? So I've gone back and explained, because it was a Welsh title, of course, how that became the title of the heir to the English throne. Obviously now subsequently British, but it happened a lot earlier than that. So that is the blog that if you are a patron, you can go and check that out. Now, all patrons from the upper class tier and above get the monthly blog. You will also get early access to the new videos I'm doing. I'm a little bit later than I wanted to be with those, but I've got some really cool ones coming up. So anyway, as patrons, you'll get early access to that. Also, if you're on the very upper tier, you've got the free. Joanne said, watch the reel, and then the bridge model is very awesome, isn't it? That must have taken somebody I no idea how long that would have taken, actually. I see, this is from someone who probably hasn't got the patience. I have never finished a cross stitch or a jigsaw. So model makers, yeah, incredible. I think it's brilliant. And anyway, go and check out if you haven't checked out the reel, have a look and you'll know what John's talking about. Chewing Gum says, I know this isn't really a history question, but what kind of bands or music do you like? Can't beat a bit of rock, in my opinion. I don't know if you were here when I said I've been to see Elkie Brooks on Sunday, but I'm a massive fan of the Eagles. I was saying that when Glenn Fry died, I couldn't listen to the Eagles for a full 12 months, and I'm not even exaggerating. I was absolutely bereft. I like all sorts of music. Seriously, I'm into pretty much everything except for dance, that I think is a genre of music for people who aren't musical. And that's I don't know if that's controversial, but generally I find people who aren't musical listen to dance music. Sorry if that's offended anybody, but that's just what I think. So yeah, have a look at that. Oh yeah, so the patrons. So patrons on the monarchy tier. I know there's a few of you here. You have got the every month I send them a high resolution image that's on sale in my shop, but they get it for free. So that is also available. That's Kenilworth Castle. Yeah, Kenilworth this month. So that's really cool. Colleen says truth. Dave very. Yeah. See. I mean, in fact, I'm thinking of getting my instruments back out, but I've said this for about 15 years. So I play clarinet and saxophone and I sing. That's easy. I don't need to get an instrument out to do that. I just need my throat to be working. And I've taught myself the piano so that I can sing, actually, because I love singing. And the problem with playing saxophone and clarinet is you can't do that and sing at the same time. So, oh, right. The thing I was going to mention as well, there is a so what I've decided to do is when a video or something is older than 12 months that went to that went to the patrons, I'm going to release it once it's over 12 months old. So if you're a patron and you join, you've still got 12 months worth of exclusive content. Bobby Ann, my son played violin and won. Oh, and viola. They hate radio music. They tell me it's off key. It's just my opinion. Where am I based? Manchester? No. Manchester is further north than me. I'm in Worcestershire. Imagine, love a jazzy saxophone solo though. Oh, yes. Do you know what? The mouth musculature you require to play clarinet, but to play saxophone. Now that's the bit I've lost. So I know that I can't just pick it up and go for it again. I'm going to have to build up the strength, which, to be fair, at whatever age I am now, I think it probably do my face a good a power of good to get to get it more strong. So the interview that is going to go live is going to be it's the one that I did with Matthew Lewis at Ludlow Castle. I've spoken to you, if you've been following me for a while, I've spoken about Ludlow Castle a lot. Matthew Lewis is a historian who has written extensively on the Wars of the Roses, Richard III. He's also local to Ludlow Castle, and his knowledge of Ludlow Castle is immense. So that will go live to everyone on the 15th of March. So like I say, originally it was in the Patreon, but that is over 12 months ago now. So I will release it to everyone. But if you do join my Patreon, because I would love you to, you do get exclusive content for at least 12 months. And a lot of the stuff that's in there won't ever be made public anyway. So you are... well, I think you're getting a good deal if you go over there and join me. You can also support me, of course, by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Philippa, which lots of you have done. Lots of you have done. So I want to say a massive thank you to you for that. I very much appreciate it. And those of you who've joined me, join my YouTube membership as well, because it all helps. It all helps a lot. So... is that pretty much it? We've done the... Oh, I haven't told you who won the book. Right. The book winner is... I'm going to... So I did I did one of these things. So you put everyone's name into a thing on the internet, and it gives you a little spinny wheel. And the winner that came out is Fernanda Quiroz. Oh, I'm sorry, Colleen, it wasn't you this time. Remember, anyone who didn't win this time, so this Fernanda Quiroz has won this book. I will get that sent to you. If you're watching, email me please at office@britishhistorytours.com with your address, and I will pop that in the post to you. Anyone who's missed out, don't worry, you've still got a chance to win the Heather Darcy book, Anna, Duchess of Cleves, sister, beloved sister, the King's beloved sister. That's what it's called. You'll still have a chance to win that. And as we go on, every time I have a historian interview, I will have a book of theirs that you can win. The next one will be Gareth Russell's book, one of his books. Yet to be decided, actually. I'm not sure whether we decided. I think it's the Katherine Howard one, because I spoke to Gareth about what we can learn. I mentioned this the other week. What we can learn about the downfalls of Katherine Howard, of which he has written the biography of Katherine Howard. If we compare and contrast the downfalls of Katherine Howard and Anne Boleyn, how we can learn about each of them from seeing the differences and the similarities between their downfalls. That is what his interview is about. Patrons, you got to ask him your own questions. I did. I put those to him, and you will get that part of the interview exclusively on Patreon. And any of you who are patrons, want to join, you do get to sorry, it's just cut me off on Instagram. Yes, you do get to ask your own questions of the historians, and they are put to them. So, right, I'm carrying on YouTube, because for some reason Instagram have taken me off. So, join me tomorrow for Visiting Tudor Britain if you're around. I'm on. It'll be on Instagram on my channel, which is British_History_Tours, and we're talking about Hardwicke Hall. And then back next week for History After Dark on history.after.dark on Instagram, and we're talking about, we've got Julian Humphreys back with us, and we're talking about he's talking the A to Z of toilets. So join if you dare. I'm not sure what we'll be talking about. But for now, thank you ever so much for joining me for this Thursday Tea Time History Chat Live, and keeping me company. I hope you have had a nice hour with me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. All right. See you all really soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.